funding for the World Food Prize was provided by Friends of Iowa Public Television, the Iowa Public Television Foundation, and by the W.T. and Edna M. Dahl Trust.
Support comes from Alliant Energy, working to help Iowa businesses be more productive with funding for equipment upgrades and process improvements. Information is available at alliantenergy.com/business.
As farmers around the nation race to harvest their 2013 crop, leaders from across the globe have descended into America's breadbasket, searching for answers and a thoughtful discussion about feeding the world's hungriest people. It has been a spirited week of dialogue from all sectors of the global community, and it culminates tonight in the World Food Prize ceremony. Welcome to Iowa's capital city of Des Moines and a packed chamber inside Iowa State House. Hello, I'm Mike Pearson, host of Iowa Public Television's Market to Market program. This beautiful venue plays host to the grandeur of tonight's event, which honors 3 key biotechnology scientists. Each has contributed essential research and development for genetically modified crops utilized here in the United States and throughout the world. It's a night for celebration and remembrance, for groundbreaking accomplishments, and to acknowledge the essential work ahead on world hunger. It's a journey that began with the work of Dr. Norman Borlaug and continues through the efforts of countless researchers, many in attendance this evening. Tonight's mix of dialogue, honors, and music begins now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2013 World Food Prize Laureate Award Ceremony. And now please welcome our special guests, the World Food Prize Council of Advisors. Ms. Margaret Catley Carlson of Canada, Chair of the Global Crop Diversity Trust. From Great Britain, Sir Gordon Conway of Imperial College in London. The President of Iowa State University, Dr. Stephen Leith.
Dr. Leith studied plant pathology, similar to Dr. Norman Borlaug, and has helped expand the World Food Prize Youth Institute.
The former Minister of Agriculture of Brazil, His Excellency Roberto Rodrigues. The original co-founder of the World Food Prize in 1986 with Dr. Norman Borlaug and past chairman, Mr. A.S. Al Clossie. Now please welcome past World Food Prize laureates. The 2012 laureate, Daniel Hillel of Israel. From the United States, 2010 laureate, David Beckman.
David Beckman's organization, Bread for the World, was involved in making the documentary film about hunger in America, A Place at the Table.
The 2009 laureate from Ethiopia, Gabiza Ijeta. From the United States, 2007 laureate, Philip Nelson. The 2006 laureate from Brazil, Alisson Paulinelli. The 2002 laureate, Pedro Sanchez from the United States.
More than 20 of the visiting laureates and experts here have been giving public lectures across the state this week. The goal is to engage Iowans and bring more attention to hunger issues.
Anderson. 2000 laureate from India, Surinder Vassal. The 1996 laureate, Gurdeep Kush from India. The first World Food Prize laureate and chairman of the Laureate Selection Committee, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan from India. At this time, please join us in welcoming our distinguished national and international guests. The former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Food Agencies in Rome, the Honorable Tony Hall. His Excellency Jan Matheson, Ambassador of Belgium to the United States.
One of the laureates being honored tonight, Marc van Montagu, is from Ghent, Belgium.
His Excellency Akin Wumi Adesina, Honorable Minister of Agriculture of Nigeria. Her Excellency Dr. Florence A. Chenoweth, Minister of Agriculture of Liberia. His Eminence Cardinal Peter K.A. Turkson, President of the Pontifical Council of Justice and Peace of the Vatican.
Cardinal Turkson has spoken at several venues this week. Last night, he led an interfaith prayer service for world hunger in downtown Des Moines.
Iowa, representing the bipartisan leadership of the Iowa legislature and the state of Iowa, Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds. Senator Pam Yoakum. Representative Jake Highfill. Representative Mary Gasco. From the United States Senate, Senator Tom Harkin.
Senator Harkin first became a member of the Agriculture Committee when he joined Congress in 1975 and has been active in Farm Bill legislation.
And now, welcome the World Food Prize Laureate Party and distinguished guests of honor. Escorted by the World Food Prize Foundation's chairman, John Ruan III, and its president, Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, the 2013 laureates, Marc van Montagu of Belgium, Mary-Dell Chilton, and Robert Fraley of the United States. Presiding at tonight's ceremony Please welcome the Governor of the State of Iowa and the Honorable Terry Branstad. And tonight's special guest of honor, the President of Iceland, Ólafur Ragnar Grímsson.
Borlaug was born on a small Iowa farm, but he grew into a legend larger than life, filling every moment with his tireless efforts to combat hunger around the world, and somehow fitting several lifetimes of work into his years on Earth. Norm never stopped, moving from one innovation and collaboration to the next, ultimately feeding 1 billion people around the world. Norm's new varieties of wheat that could increase yields and resist disease, and his training of farmers in numerous countries, earned him the Nobel Peace Prize and the title Father of the Green Revolution. His achievements prevented mass starvation and famine, and his diligent work ethic is still an example to us today. Norm saw that our planet faced the enormous task of being able to feed the burgeoning world population, which is estimated to surpass 9 billion by the year 2050. He had a vision for how we could confront this challenge. Norm dreamed that we could find ways to take the green revolution to Africa and other regions and help smallholder farmers succeed, that we could expose the next generation to careers in science and agriculture and inspire them to innovate and create new solutions to feed the world. And he dreamed that someday we might harness the tools of technology to isolate the trait in rice that makes it resistant to rust disease and put that gene into wheat plants to grow more food. Norm dreamed that fighting hunger could become one of the world's top priorities, and to this end, he created the World Food Prize to recognize and inspire great achievements in improving the quality, quantity, and availability of food. To date, the World Food Prize has honored 39 deserving laureates from across the globe, who are incredible examples of how each of us can make a difference. These real-life heroes have worked in a wide variety of areas, ranging from plant science to soil sustainability, from nutrition enhancement to complex policy work. They've led the single greatest period of food production and hunger reduction in human history. Norm's dreams also live on through the World Food Prize Norman E. Borlaug International Symposium, also known as the Borlaug Dialogue. Every year, this renowned conference endeavors to bring the world's greatest minds together to discuss cutting-edge issues in hunger and food security, to share new ideas and propose solutions to global problems to propel us forward. As we celebrate 100 years since Norman Borlaug's birth, we honor his legacy as one of the world's greatest heroes. As his statue is installed in the United States Capitol, Mexico, and India, Programs are named in his honor, and the Dr. Norman E. Borlaug Hall of Laureates in Des Moines shares his story. His commitment to eradicating hunger and poverty from the face of the earth is carried forward. As we face the single greatest challenge in the history of human agriculture, we need Norman Borlaug's inspiration more than ever. Through each of us, his dreams live on. Each of us can make a difference. Around the world, as we begin the next Borlaug century, he will again inspire us. Together, we can emulate and replicate the achievements of the man who saved more lives than anyone who has ever lived.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the president of the World Food Prize Foundation, Ambassador Kenneth Quinn.
I still can't watch things like that without thinking of Norm, and, still a little hard. But everyone here, everyone watching on Iowa Public Television, watching our webcast, thousands and thousands around the globe, welcome. Welcome to the 2013 World Food Prize Laureate Awards ceremony as we celebrate the Borlaug Centennial and begin the next Borlaug century. Governor Branstad, bipartisan leadership of our state legislature, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for allowing us the incomparable privilege of holding this ceremony here in our magnificent state capitol. Norm's no longer with us, but his spirit still animates our work. And to acknowledge his legacy, we keep his chair here open. Still turn around thinking I'm going to see Norm there and that, because it's the one he always occupied. And I know his spirit is still here. But we're fortunate, however, to have two members of Norman Borlaug's family with us. His daughter, Jeannie Lauby is here, and his granddaughter, Julie. And we're so delighted you're here. Please join with me in welcoming the Borlaug family. So, tonight's a night of celebration for this year's laureates, and it's important that we remember the cause which brings us together, confronting hunger and malnutrition. And to do this, each year we begin the ceremony with the reading of a poem entitled In Any Language. That name seems so fitting, given that we have attendees from over 60 countries here, speaking many different languages. So to read a passage from In Any Language, please welcome Norman Borlaug's daughter, Jeannie Borlaug Lauby.
In Any Language by Lucille Morgan Wilson. In any language, hunger is an ugly word. There is no music in hunger. The rumble of empty stomachs, the monotonous whine of a child wasted with disease, the moan of the mother whose baby lies bloated and still in her arms. Hunger is a listless din of apathy, bread of weakness, the faded brown and gray of dead leaves after autumn has ebbed.
Oh, thank you, Jeannie. Thank you. Having you read this reminds us of your father's passion, which drove his life and permeated his vision for the World Food Prize. And you heard Jeannie say the poem was written by Lucille Morgan Wilson. She's here with us tonight. And earlier this week, we presented to her the very first ever Robert D. Ray Iowa Shares Humanitarian Award for her role in leading the Des Moines area hunger hike for the last 35 years. Join me in expressing our appreciation to Lucille. Lucille, you must have started doing that when you were a very young girl, if it was 35 years. So World Food Prize is culminating a remarkable year It features Secretary of State John Kerry presiding at our laureate announcement ceremony when we revealed the names of our three winners. And just earlier today, we established a new World Food Prize partnership with the Howard G. Buffett Foundation to implement the 40 Chances Fellows program with former Prime Minister Tony Blair and his African Governance Initiative. And so pleased that Howard W. Buffett and his wife Lily could be here. Thank you so much, Howard and Lily, and we're really pumped to be partners with you in this. And then this week we also presented our new Norman Borlaug Award for Field Research and Application, endowed by the Rockefeller Foundation, to Dr. Charity Mutegi of Kenya. And Charity is here as well, and she's over here. And please join me in expressing our congratulations to her. I hope you saw the welcome she was given on the news, and she was in the banner headline of the paper today, so that was so wonderful. But we're also saddened during the year by the loss of Laureate Nevin Scrimshaw, one of the great pioneers of nutrient fortification. So President Grimson, Senator Harkin, Cardinal Turkson, we're so honored to have you here and have you do presentations today at our Borlaug Dialogue and with our students and to our distinguished ministers and diplomats. We're so honored to have you here with us as well and participating in the Borlaug Dialogue and as we begin the next Borlaug century. And to our three laureates, I want to say a word. Norm Borlaug was very pleased by your nomination, and I know he's thrilled with your selection because he believed biotechnology will be so critical in meeting the challenges of the future. But as we recognize you, we need to bear in mind that there would be no World Food Prize ceremony tonight. There would be no other World Food Prize laureates, no Borlaug Dialogue. There'd be no World Food Prize, except for one man, the man who rescued the World Food Prize when it was about to go out of existence, the man to whom Norman Borlaug had unending gratitude. His name was John Ruan.
The story begins in 1914, when John Ruan was born in the little town of Beacon, Iowa. John went to Iowa State College for a year, but then the money ran out. So in the summer of 1932, John traded the family Chevrolet on a 1934 dump truck and headed back to southern Iowa, where he would live in a tent by night and haul gravel by day. On July 4th, he loaded the truck with its first load and began his new life. John Ruan went on to build an empire in trucking, in banking, in foreign trade, in real estate, and in financial services. He championed and helped design the first truck built to travel 1 million miles without repair, one of countless innovations he brought to transportation. He built what was then the tallest building in Des Moines, and he did 1 million little kindnesses that few people will ever know about. Meantime, John's focus changed. While building complex corporations and striking complicated deals, he concentrated more and more on a simple belief. A belief that the world must be fed. That belief led him to another small-town Iowan, a man named Norman Borlaug. Quickly, John Ruan agreed that he would sponsor the World Food Prize, and ultimately he endowed the World Food Prize Foundation to ensure that the prize would continue forever. Now, the World Food Prize is the center of a year-long involvement by the World Food Prize Foundation and nearly a week-long celebration in Des Moines. For John Ruan, the small-town boy who thought big, Iowans not only honor him, the whole world honors him.
No. Well, John Ruan Sr. is no longer with us. His son, John Ruan III, chairman of the World Food Prize Foundation, is here this evening. And John, would you stand up so we could recognize you and thank you? And Janice Ruan is here, and the Ruan family over here. Thank you all for everything you do, for all of your generous support to the World Food Prize. Now, Norman Borlaug and John Ruan had a shared vision that the prize could inspire the next generation to confront the greatest challenge in human history, whether we can sustainably feed the 9 billion people who will be on our planet in 2050. And as we begin the next Borlaug century, we're pleased to have many members of that next generation here with us from around the world. So they're up here, and I want you to wave when I call your organization's name. And that in the balcony tonight, we have the USDA Borlaug Fellows. We have Monsanto's Beechill Borlaug Scholars. We have the USAID Borlaug Leap Fellows, and don't anybody leap, please, there. And we also have farmers from around the globe brought about truth about trade. We're so pleased to have all of these members of the next generation here. But you know, Norm and John, they were cutting edge, right? They felt they needed to start even younger. So to inspire that next generation of high school students, in 1994, they established the Global Youth Institute. Started out small with only 14 students, but it's grown over the years.
One of the defining moments of the Global Youth Institute for me was getting to talk to rural African farmers, because I had never been out of the country before, and it totally took me out of my borders even though I was still in the US.
This summer I conducted a research project on detecting and analyzing the nutritional content in soybeans to improve soy products to benefit human health.
I not only found mentors, I found my role models, I found the real heroes of society. And I was able to interact with them on a day-to-day basis.
All across the United States, hundreds of high school students just like these are starting on their own paths to join the fight against hunger through the World Food Prize youth education programs. The wide array of programs aims to educate and inspire the next generation of great scientific and humanitarian leaders. That was the shared vision of Nobel Peace Prize winner and World Food Prize founder Dr. Norman E. Borlaug and Des Moines entrepreneur and philanthropist John Ruan when they created the Global Youth Institute in 1994. Since then, the World Food Prize education programs have grown to be recognized as among the most innovative in the world. The Youth Institute, which introduces students to global food security issues, has expanded nationally, and premier internship programs both in the U.S. and abroad provide promising young men and women first-hand experiences in the field and the chance to build upon their interest and interact with the world's foremost leaders and scientists. Each year, through the World Food Prize Youth Institute, high school students and their teachers explore and learn about the ever-increasing worldwide demand for food and the complexity of issues that affect food security, from water scarcity to gender equality. Students research and write papers about these pressing global challenges and gather at regional and state youth institutes to present their findings and discuss solutions with their peers, local, state, and international experts. The top students from across the United States then travel to Des Moines each October with their high school teachers to participate as delegates in the Global Youth Institute. Held in conjunction with a presentation of the $250,000 World Food Prize and the Borlaug Dialogue International Symposium, students and teachers participate in World Food Prize events and are immersed in an exchange of ideas with the world's top agriculture experts, research scientists, industry leaders, and heads of state leading the fight against hunger. Students who participate can then apply to become Borlaug Ruan International interns. Each summer, over 20 students are sent on life-changing 2-month research assignments in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. They work alongside leading research scientists in the field and laboratory to solve the most significant issues facing agriculture and the environment, economic development, and human health. Once in college, these exceptional young men and women may also become Wallace Carver interns, a unique opportunity to collaborate with prominent American scientists and policymakers through paid internships at USDA research centers and offices across the United States. Through this innovative program, talented students in agriculture, life sciences, and other fields critical to the fight against hunger learn firsthand to analyze agricultural and economic policy, assist in the management of food, nutrition, and rural development programs, and take part in groundbreaking field and laboratory-based research.
This experience has changed my life in numerous ways. It's made me consider majors I never thought I would consider 5 years ago. It's made me consider issues that weren't at the top of my list. And it added a whole different aspect to my life, and it really changed the course of where I wanted to be and where I want to be in 10 years. Because now I know that I want to be a fighter in this fight. I want to be in the ring, taking down food insecurity and really helping those around the world.
Now, we have 150 of those students watching this live broadcast at our Hall of Laureates. They come from 27 U.S. states and territories, 5 foreign countries, including a group from China, students and teachers that we brought from Hebei province as part of our Iowa-Hebei sister state relationship. Now, last year at the ceremony, and those of you who are here may remember, I invited the audience to see these students. It was going to be a big moment. The students would be there, they'd be waving, we'd be waving. And as I called, all right, let's see them, here's what appeared on the screen. Yes. So I didn't want a repeat of this, so I'm going to try again this year. I took President Grimson down there, I took Senator Harkin down, took Cardinal Turkson down, had them speak to them. My hope is, when we do this, they're going to be in the chairs. To tell you the truth, I'm a little hesitant to watch, but go ahead, let's see them. Oh, all right. Ah. Woo. I don't know what I would have done if they were empty again. But the signature element of this program is our Borlaug Ruan International Internship. This past summer, we sent 22 high school students, so 17, 18-year-olds, on life-changing field research assignments at leading agricultural research centers Africa, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East. And each October, we present 2 very special awards to 2 of these Borlaug Ruan interns whose work was judged best reflect their scientific excellence and their cross-cultural understanding. One award is named for that Iowa agricultural ambassador, John Crystal, who spent decades during the Cold War promoting greater understanding between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. And next to him is Elaine Simoniak, state senator, was a passionate supporter of the World Food Prize. And she was a Democrat, played an instrumental role in introducing John Ruan, Republican, to Norman Borlaug, reflecting that bipartisan spirit. So now I want you to meet and hear about this year's recipients.
The recipient of the 2013 Elaine Simoniak Intern Award is Elizabeth Muller from Waukee, Iowa. She completed her summer internship at Earth University in Guacamo, Costa Rica, where she explored the effectiveness of biodigesters to convert organic waste into a renewable source of energy and nutrient-rich fertilizers. Elizabeth is currently a junior at the University of Iowa, majoring in microbiology and global health. The recipient of the 2013 John Crystal Intern Award is Rachel Ganson from Geneseo, Illinois. She completed her internship at the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics in Pakatero, India. There she studied female participation in village self-help groups as a way of enhancing the nutritional status of households. Rachel is a freshman at the University of Notre Dame, majoring in gender studies and pre-medicine. Here to present these awards are John Ruan Sr.'s grandson, John Ruan IV, and Norman Borlaug's granddaughter, Julie Borlaug.
Our grandfathers would want both of you to know that you are the next generation hunger fighters, and this entire room is here to support and mentor you on your careers. So thank you.
Now, many of you know me as I was an American diplomat for 32 years. And some of my most vivid memories were visiting countries assigned in Asia and Africa was the chance to go out to the provinces and out in the villages and hear songs performed by local village musicians. And I know that Nora von Montagu and she and I were talking the other day that this is the kind of music that appeals to her as well. So tonight, we want you, particularly our international visitors, to have that same experience. After all, you're out here visiting the provinces when you come to Iowa. And as a special tribute to Norm and John, we have an artist inspired by the Nordic immigrant tradition of American Middle West. Our featured artist had never heard of Norman Borlaug until he read his obituary. And he wondered why more people hadn't heard of Norm, given all that he did. So he composed a song to spread the message about this unsung hero. So please welcome Jonathan Rundman with Jake Armerding and Matt Patrick to perform the Borlaug Polka. You know, Jeannie, I don't think I ever saw your dad dance. And I'm kind of thinking he's out there in the Borlaug barn and you know, his toes tapping and things. Huh? So, Jonathan, that was wonderful. And but I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you know, we had a song for Norm, and we need a song for John Ruan. That's only right. And Janice Ruan wondered if maybe, given that John had a big trucking company, maybe you could play King of the Road. That was great. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, President Grimson and I were visiting the other day, and we were discussing the similarities of Iowa and Iceland, and I noted that they both started with the letter I. Then we discussed, I was talking with him about the Nobel ceremony, because I went to the 100th anniversary of the Nobel ceremony with Norm Borlaug in 2001 in Oslo. And there I saw the ceremony, and only it was when the king issued his proclamation that the new Nobel laureate could be made official and receive the award. And so, you know, Iceland used to have a king and kind of got rid of it, and it's a good thing Prime Minister Blair's not here, but I say the U.S., Iowa used to have a king, and we don't have the king anymore. But Iceland's fortunate, Mr. President, to have you as the leader of your country, and we're fortunate to have a governor, especially one who has played such a critical role with John Ruan Sr. in rescuing the World Food Prize. So now to issue the official laureate proclamation, please welcome the Governor of Iowa, the Honorable Terry Branstad.
Thank you. Ambassador Ken Quinn, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for the great leadership you've provided as the Executive Director of the World Food Prize. On behalf of all Iowans and the state of Iowa, I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's here from around the globe for this very special celebration. It is a special point of pride for all of us who live here in Iowa that the organization, which is often called the Nobel Prize for Food and Agriculture, is located right here in our capital city in the state of Iowa. We, of course, think of it being most appropriate that we celebrate it and host it here because the founder was from Cresco, Iowa, the birthplace of Norman Borlaug, and I happen to be from a little further west than that. But we are very proud of the fact that the Nobel Peace Prize laureate who founded the World Food Prize was a native Iowan. Our state is also very honored this year to have President Olafur Ragnar Grimson of Iceland, who has traveled here to Iowa as a special guest of honor at this event. I personally enjoyed his remarks this morning at the Borlaug Dialogue keynote address. Iceland's leadership in renewable energy, which we care a lot about in Iowa, especially in geothermal, is very impressive, and his presence is definitely appreciated this evening. Thank you, Mr. President. We're also very honored with Cardinal Turkson's presence. We are enormously pleased that he came to represent the Vatican and to be here for this special occasion. It was also an honor for me to be with Cardinal Turkson and Bishop Pates for Mass this morning. One thing that unites us Iowans across all political and religious lines is our pride in the role that our state plays in fighting hunger throughout the world and being welcoming to friends from all over the world who come to this beautiful land we call Iowa. We also share admiration for Dr. Borlaug as one of our state's greatest heroes, which was reflected in the bipartisan vote in this General Assembly to place Dr. Norman Borlaug's statue as one of two representing Iowa in the U.S. Capitol. And that's going to happen on the 25th of March, 2014, the 100th birthday of Dr. Norman Borlaug. Lastly, we Iowans are proud to continue to support the work and the dedication of the World Food Prize and all the exciting things that it is engendering throughout the world. It is therefore most fitting that tonight, it is here in Iowa that we honor these three brilliant scientists whose accomplishments have opened up immense possibilities for enhanced productivity as the world's population continues to grow. It is therefore my privilege to proclaim Marc van Montagu, Mary-Dell Chilton, and Robert Fraley as the 2013 World Prize laureates, World Food Prize laureates. This is the proclamation.
From the earliest days of human agriculture, when the first farmer planted the first seed in the Fertile Crescent almost 11,000 years ago, the development of crops and spread of food technology have resulted from the insights and innovations of individuals around the globe. From Dayu, the emperor who first channeled raging rivers in China to allow agricultural production, to Chanukya in India, who documented early agricultural enhancements, to Hatshepsut, the female Egyptian pharaoh who began horticultural trade. Agriculture flourished and spread, traveling over Roman roads, the Silk Road, and on Persian, Arabian, and African trade routes. In the 19th century in Europe, science leapt forward to become the multiplier of the harvest. Pasteur in France prevented germs and bacteria from spoiling food. Von Liebig and Haber and Bosch in Germany developed fertilizers. And Gregor Mendel, an Austrian monk, first identified the laws of heredity. In the United States in the 20th century, Henry A. Wallace and Norman Borlaug led enormous advances in plant science and breeding. Geneticist Barbara McClintock discovered how genes move on chromosomes during breeding, and how certain genes are in fact responsible for physical characteristics. And then in 1953, the discovery of the DNA double helix by Watson, Crick, Wilkins, and Franklin set the stage for agriculture to shift from the Green Revolution to the Gene Revolution. It is here that the three 2013 World Food Prize laureates began to write the next chapter in the evolution and the revolution of science and agriculture.
I am particularly happy that on the 60th anniversary of the discovery of the double helix structure of the DNA molecule. Three very eminent biotechnologists, starting with Professor Marc von Montagu and Mary-Dell Chilton and Robert Fraley. Their work has been recognized and they will be receiving the World Food Prize. This is very appropriate because I think the science of genetic engineering, the new biology, new genetics, has certainly opened up completely new opportunities.
Marc von Montagu was born in Ghent, Belgium, and grew up in a working-class family. From an early age, physics and chemistry fascinated him. He was the first in his family to complete high school and go on to university studies. He attended Ghent University, where he studied biochemistry. He earned his PhD in biochemistry and continued his own research with friend and colleague Jeff Schell. Dr. von Montagu and Jeff Schell began working with the plant disease known as crown gall and the soil bacteria Agrobacterium tumefaciens. In nature, these bacteria infect plants. In 1974, the two scientists unlocked the mystery of how the bacteria infect plants. They proved that the bacterium actually transfers a piece of its own hereditary material to the DNA of the plant, which was a groundbreaking discovery. That DNA was located on a molecule called a plasmid and was named the T plasmid, which stands for tumor-inducing plasmid. The scientists realized at once that they had found a messenger that would allow them to modify plants genetically.
We tried to understand why a bacteria was inserting DNA in plant cells. So we did the fundamental research, found that this bacteria does gene engineering, proved that, and then instead of inducing malformations on the plants, we could deliver new genes that give new properties to plants.
Mary-Dell Chilton, who grew up in North Carolina and Illinois, didn't take her first science class until high school in Hinsdale, Illinois. But it soon became evident that science was her calling. DNA fascinated her, and when she and her husband moved to the University of Washington in Seattle, she became involved in work to identify the cause of the crown gall disease in plants. Following the Ghent University team's discovery of the T plasmid, the puzzle remained to find the exact piece of DNA that transferred traits. Dr. Chilton, along with Milton Gordon and Eugene Nestor, constructed a brute force experiment involving everyone in their lab to, over a 48-hour period, test smaller pieces of the T plasmid. They discovered that one small piece of the T plasmid, now called tDNA for transfer DNA, was in fact responsible for transferring the genetic information from the bacteria to the plant. They had discovered the how aspect of gene transfer. Dr. Chilton continued her molecular biology research at Washington University in St. Louis. Accepting a faculty position there in 1979, 3 years later, her team harnessed the gene transfer mechanism of Agrobacterium to produce the first transgenic tobacco plant.
In a real sense, the process that you use for genetically engineering a crop plant is a natural one. We learned it from nature. We learned it from Agrobacterium, a little bacterium that did this before we ever discovered it. All we did was learn how Agrobacterium manages to put a gene into a plant, and we copied that process. We exploited a natural process to put genes into plant cells, genes of our choice, to benefit the farmer and the end user of that plant.
Robert T. Fraley grew up on a small Midwestern farm in central Illinois, where his parents raised both crops and livestock. As a young child, Rob was fascinated about how things worked, from machinery to plants and animals, and knew early on that he wanted to spend his life exploring science. Dr. Ernie Jaworski recruited him to join Monsanto as part of a small team, including Rob Horsch and Steve Rogers, focused on developing a gene transfer system for plants. The breakthrough occurred in 1982 when the team discovered how to delete the disease-causing genes in Agrobacterium tumefaciens, but leave the transfer mechanism intact so that new genes with desirable traits could be introduced and expressed in plant cells. The plant cells could be regenerated into whole plants. In the early days, petunia and tobacco plants. And it was shown that subsequent generations would inherit the new genes in their offspring. Rob continued his work leading the Monsanto R&D team, focused on a variety of crops with the vision of widespread farmer accessibility to improved biotech seeds.
The bottom line is all these farmers are using this because it works. It helps them reduce their risk to control their bugs and weeds and improve their yields. I feel really privileged, and I think for me, it's just the beginning of a wave of innovation that's going to be so important for agriculture.
30 years ago, in 1983, plant biotechnology rocketed to the forefront of the scientific world. When von Montagu, Chilton, and Fraley each presented the results of their independent pioneering research on the successful transfer of bacterial genes into plants and the creation of genetically modified plants at the Miami Biochemistry Winter Symposium. Since then, they have all continued to lead groundbreaking research. And today, biotech crops are grown in nearly 30 countries around the world on over 400 million acres, making biotechnology one of the most rapidly adopted new tools in the history of agriculture. Marc von Montagu went on to found two biotechnology companies, Plant Genetic Systems, best known for its early work on insect-resistant and herbicide-tolerant crops, and Crop Design, a company focused on the genetic engineering of agronomic traits for the global commercial corn and rice seed markets. In 2000, he also founded the Institute of Plant Biotechnology Outreach, with the mission to assist developing countries in gaining access to the latest plant biotechnology developments and to stimulate their research institutions to become independent and competitive. Mary-Dell Chilton was offered the opportunity to start the biotech arm of Ciba-Geigy Corporation, now known as Syngenta. She established one of the world's first industrial agricultural biotechnology programs, leading applied research in areas such as disease and insect resistance, as well as continuing to improve transformation systems in crop plants. She has spent the last 3 decades overseeing the implementation of the new technology she developed and further improving it to be used in the introduction of new and novel genes into plants. Dr. Fraley and his team in 1996 launched the first biotech-developed soybean resistant to the herbicide glyphosate, known commercially as Roundup. When planting these Roundup-ready crops, a farmer was able to eliminate the weeds while the soybeans thrived. This was followed by the commercialization of insect-protected cotton and corn. In leadership positions at Monsanto, currently as Executive Vice President and Chief Technology Officer, Dr. Fraley has played a major role in charting the course for the company's research direction, including the decision to enter the seed business that has led to access to biotechnology products for farmers around the world. The 21st century presents the single greatest challenge in human history. Can we sustainably feed the more than 9 billion people who will be on our planet by the year 2050? The answer is complex and uncertain, as we also face increasing climate volatility and the constraints of depleted natural resources. As farmers, particularly poor smallholder farmers, face drought, flooding, pests, plant diseases, and saltwater intrusion from rising seas, the scientific insights and innovations of these 3 individuals offer enormous hope that this greatest challenge can be overcome. For their breakthrough achievements in discovering and pioneering biotechnology, Marc von Montagu, Mary-Dell Chilton, and Robert T. Fraley, truly deserve to be named the 2013 World Food Prize laureates.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2013 World Food Prize laureates, Marc van Montagu, Mary-Dell Chilton, and Robert Fraley. At this time, His Excellency Olafur Ragnar Grimson will join John Ruan III, Chairman of the World Food Prize, and Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the Chairman of the World Food Prize Selection Committee, in presenting the World Food Prize sculpture to the 2013 laureates.
So this time I'd like to invite President Grimson and Mr. Ruan and Dr. Swaminathan to return to their seats. Governor, please sit down. And I now want to invite our laureates to offer their words of acceptance.
I would like to thank Ambassador Quinn, Mr. Ruan, Dr. Swaminathan, and the World Food Prize Laureate Selection Committee for this great honor. I am humbled and extremely grateful for it. I also thank my family for being here with me tonight on this great occasion. My brother, Pete Matchett, and his wife, Nancy, my sons, Andrew the Elder and Marc, who is the mayor of Carrboro, North Carolina, my daughter-in-law, Quaker Harmon, and my grandsons, Samuel and Alex. Many scientific colleagues have fostered my career. I owe them all my thanks, but especially my PhD thesis advisor and mentor, Dr. Benjamin Hall, who taught me how to be a scientist, Dr. Bob Thatch, who brought me to Washington University in St. Louis, where so much of this occurred, and Dr. Hans Geisbuehler, who hired me to create and lead a biotechnology unit in North Carolina for the Swiss multinational Ciba-Geigy. at a time, I might add, when many women in Switzerland did not yet have the vote. I also thank the committee for its role in increasing the recognition of the contribution of women to science and innovation. I hope that school-age girls around the world will be encouraged to pursue science and know that their achievements can make important contributions to society. I accept this honor both personally and on behalf of the many students, postdocs, and collaborators with whom I have shared this adventure. Our work, which began as curiosity-driven fundamental research, now finds worldwide application in agriculture, with great promise of benefiting all mankind. Now, nothing could be more gratifying than that. The choice of plant biotechnology researchers for the World Prize of 2013 recognizes the valuable contribution of this science to agriculture. When I began this work, I scarcely could have imagined the profound effect it would have on agriculture today. Neither could I have imagined the controversy that has accompanied our discoveries and advances. It is my hope that we can put to rest this misguided opposition and convince the public of the safety, benefit, and ecological value of this new and useful technology. It is a wonderful tool for plant breeders to help them grow food for a hungry future. We will need it. Thank you.
What a truly extraordinary night, and it's a real honor to share this award with Mary-Dell and with Marc. I'd also like to thank the selection committee, Ambassador Quinn and Mr. Ruan for recognizing biotechnology. That took courage. And we really appreciate the forum that it provides to have this really important discussion about the role of innovation in technology and in agriculture. And I'd like to accept the award on behalf of all of my friends and colleagues at Monsanto, and really all of the plant scientists across industry and academia who've worked so hard to get us to this point, and importantly, are going to work so hard to get us to where we need to be in the future. Now, if you think it takes a lot of patience to figure out how to put a gene into a plant, it doesn't compare to anything to the patience to be married to a scientist who's been trying to do that all his career. And I'd like to acknowledge my wife Laura for all of her support in my career, and my family's here, and my children Stephen, Devin, and Catherine. Thank you. Your being here makes this so special. You know, it just seems like yesterday that I was in the laboratory with Rob Horsch and Steve Rogers and Ernie Jaworski, and we were trying to figure out how to put genes into petunia plants. And now we've got biotech crops grown in 30 countries around the world. And there's so much more potential to come. And we're going to need it, because we need to double the food supply to feed 9 billion people by 2050. I think we can do it. But it's a tremendous challenge, and it is the greatest challenge facing us and all mankind in the future. You know, I'd tell you that my company and my industry has struggled with public acceptance, but we understand that and we're changing that. But we can't do it alone. I ask you for all of your support, and I ask folks across all the companies, across the universities, across the NGOs to help, because it's going to take everybody along with us in the industry. And I think we can absolutely do it. I can promise you that my company will do what it takes. We'll collaborate, we'll share, and we will do what it takes, because this is so important to create the opportunity for innovation to make the difference. You know, I think if Dr. Borlaug were here this evening, he'd be pretty proud of the scientific progress we've made. And then the first thing he would ask is, how are we doing on that rust gene in wheat? And then he'd ask me, now how did that drought gene really do this year in the field trials? And before he did anything else, he would look around and he would probably have a conversation with every student who's in this beautiful place, because he loves that so well. And then it would take about that long, and Norm would say, we got a lot of work to do, let's get on with it.
I'm very, very grateful to the World Food Prize Foundation that they have recognized plant genetic engineering as a tool that will bring, and that has already proven that it can bring, progress for feeding those who need it most. But I'm frustrated, of course, that it takes so long. That is so long way before this technology can help those who need it most. And I hope that with the effort that the foundation has done, with the former laureates and with all the colleagues that are here, that we can mobilize to explain why it is needed. Mary-Dell and Rob have already explained how the whole story is important, and I just want to stress that it's the fact that from fundamental research, looking how in nature a bacteria makes a transgenic plant, that start should for many bring that it is the priority to do outstanding fundamental research and be ready, and that we should have the structures that this science can then be applied. And for that, the people in fundamental research should have close links with breeders, and that is what here at the World Food Prize is present, that are the breeders, and hope that the molecular biologists with the breeders can interact better for making the products. And at this occasion, I want to bring in the first place tribute to Jeff Shell, the late Jeff Shell, a colleague who was so instrumental in motivating us to go on with this project, and without him, we never would have succeeded like we did. I also want to express my deep gratitude to Nora for all the interest and support she gives to science, but also to art, beauty, and solidarity for humanity. Then I surely want to bring tribute to the early collaborators, who several over here, Jan Leemans, Arlette, Dulce de Oliveira, Can Wang, Luis Herrera Estrella. They did the pioneering work in the spirit that at the moment we consider them as family and we cherish them as family. Also, my deep gratitude to my successor, Dirk Inzee, who has shown that this science will take a long way and that we are ready to go. And at the Institute, the directors of the Institute who are here, Jo Bury, Johan Cardoon, to bring on continuous support notwithstanding all the critics we have in Europe. But I also want to greet especially Suri Siegel, who in the 80s in Ghent helped plant genetic systems so well, and later on was generous in helping us to start this Institute of Plant Biotechnology for developing countries that we call now Plant Biotechnology Outreach. And it is this outreach that we hope that we will bring further, and that is only a first step. Thank you.
line up again. We'll take another picture. Line up again, and we'll take. Let's get one more picture and one more round of applause for our laureates. So I want to invite our laureates to return to their seats. No, leave the... Don't worry, we have them guarded. Nobody will make off with your prize. So, you know, Rob Horsch is here. It was at the 1983 Miami conference, kind of a historic turning point. And I'd like to think that this prize and this night, looking back years from now, maybe that'll be seen as another historic turning point in the great struggle to ensure adequate food for all. So we close our ceremony with special performance of music with special meaning to our laureates. And I want you to know I tried. I really tried to find some music that could link Belgium with Illinois. And I looked and looked. And, you know, I hate to admit failure, but tonight we have something we think will be wonderful. It's the original choral piece that I commissioned Ben Alloway and his wife Julianne in 2006. And it was to trace Norman Borlaug's work in the Green Revolution as he called for others to stand with him. It incorporates languages from the countries and continents where Norm worked. At first, Norm called, but only a few came and stood with him. But eventually, thousands and thousands did. So tonight, as we begin the next Borlaug century and confront that greatest challenge in human history, Norm and all of our laureates and our new laureates are calling to you and to me. They're calling to all who are watching tonight. They're calling for all of us to stand with them. Many will hear the laureates' call, but how many will stand with them in the fight against hunger? Please welcome the Des Moines Choral Society as they perform the laureate call. And will you stand with them?
By the works the
Des Moines Choral Society. Everyone has heard the laureate call tonight. Here's Ben Alloway and Julianne Alloway, the composers. That's So this is a wonderful ending to only the ceremony, more to come. But thank you all for being here tonight, and thanks to the Des Moines Choral Society for a magnificent finish, and to all of this. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2013 World Food Prize Laureate Award Ceremony. Thank you, and good night.
It was a night of celebration, music, and dialogue regarding the future of global food and hunger issues. Legendary agriculturalist Norman Borlaug's work was referenced often this evening, and his legacy continues into what Ambassador Ken Quinn calls the next Borlaug century. It's a story we intend to tell on the programs of Iowa Public Television, including our weekly agribusiness show Market to Market, airing on PBS stations across the country. For our entire IPTV crew here at the State House in Des Moines, I'm Mike Pearson. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Funding for the World Food Prize was provided by Friends of Iowa Public Television, the Iowa Public Television Foundation, and by the W.T. and Edna M. Dahl Trust.
Support comes from Alliant Energy, working to help businesses build in energy savings from the start. Alliant Energy's commercial new construction program provides consultants to help implement energy saving strategies. Information is available at alliantenergy.com/CNC.